Well, hello there, Lynn.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So everyone, we have been talking a lot about job stuff lately and job anxiety and the layoffs that have happened in the tech field and all this stuff. And it's been very tactical over the last several podcast episodes. And we've been talking more about business and mind management, things like this. And so that's why I was really excited today to kind of shift gears into why we're doing all of this stuff every day, which is actually to build a life that we enjoy and that we get to enjoy with our families. So one of the things I know that I love to do is when I'm doing business travel, when I was working full-time in corporate, or whether I'm flying out to do events and speaking and things like that, I love talking with other people about, okay, what points card do you use? And which hotel preferred program is the best one where you get points? And can you combine those with the cards, and like using all of those different things? And I feel like there's so many people that are way, way better at it than me. And I always feel like if I just knew an expert that told me like, no, stop getting distracted, overwhelmed by all these different ways that you can do this. Just follow this methodology and you can get better hotels or better discounts, or specifically one of the most expensive things that I found when I am wanting to travel with my family and travel and plan a big vacation is the ticket prices for flying the whole family. All of a sudden that becomes the largest expense of the trip and can start to narrow down where we even get to go, because the tickets can be so expensive. They're the most expensive part. And that's why I was so excited to learn about you and what you do. So everybody, I'm going to have Lynn formally introduce herself right now. But for any of you out there that are high performers that do travel or have even thought about the fact, I wish I was just wiser with when I am spending money, if I'm using a card or doing different things, I wish I had a specific way to go about planning for and getting the best discounts for flying. Lynn has a jam for you. Okay. She's got a whole system that she's going to tell us about right now that will help you to be able to really plan out where you want to go and hopefully use your points and things like that to your advantage so that you can have more options for traveling. So Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Tell us a little bit about your history and about how you got into this and why you specifically help people and families with this.
Yeah, so I am a longtime travel journalist. I've written about travel for U.S. News and World Report, The Today Show, MSN, a bunch of different sites. And so one day I get a lot of press releases, right, because of that, about travel. So one day I got a press release about this couple who was flying for free around the world, and they were doing it by collecting miles, not by flying and paying for the flights and earning the miles that way, but they were collecting them in other ways, like through travel credit cards and other things. I was like, mind blown. Like, what? They're flying, they're traveling the world for free. And so the whole concept to me that you could earn frequent flyer miles without flying frequently was a real eye opener, right? Because that's what they're called. So you would think, I always thought, it was that business people. Like my dad was a business traveler. He flew, he earned Delta miles for his flights. And then when he had enough at some point, he could take one flight for free. So I really looked into this. I was a longtime couponer too. And I think it's a similar mindset here of kind of how much can I get for how little? And I was like, this is like couponing, but for travel. And I could get a whole lot more. I could be getting free trips instead of whatever, boxes of cereal or, you name it. And so that's how I really started to approach it. And so my family kind of dipped our toes into this back in 2015. And then over a couple of years, I just figured out an easy way to do this so that my family of four, I have got two boys, could always fly for free. And we have focused on the US, the Caribbean, and Europe. So we haven't branched out beyond that. That's really my expertise.
I'm okay with the Caribbean and Europe. Like, just, help me get to those places.
I feel like we could spend the rest of our lives on those things, And so we just, at first, we really only ever took driving trips because I'm an entrepreneur. And that was all we could afford. And so we would maybe take one driving trip a year. And suddenly we went from that to flying 6 times a year for free. Wow. And so we started kind of just going all around the US because we hadn't been very many places. Certainly my kids had not. They were in elementary school at the time. And so, and then I never dreamed in a million years we'd be able to go to Europe. Like, I just thought that was way out of our budget.
Just off the table.
Do that?
Yeah.
Off the table. Like, I had no idea how we could, but I dreamed of Tuscany and Paris and all these places. And so after we did this for a couple of years, we figured out how to do Europe, and I was completely blown away that I flew everyone to Europe for free. That's amazing. So I have now put together, I have a program where we teach my simple system of how to always be able to fly free. And it does use some travel cards. So I'm sure you guys, like you said, you love to compare which one earns the most points and that kind of thing.
It's like a secret club.
But we really take a simple approach to it. So you don't have to have a whole bunch of cards, just a couple, and you can make it work with that.
That's amazing. What I love about your experience too, and kind of the view that you're coming at it from, is as a journalist. And so I bet you had more than just a sprinkle of skepticism at first, and you tried it out for yourself to make sure that it worked. And like you said, like traveling with a family 6 times in 1 year, even if it's just US based, that would be crazy amounts of money for airline tickets for a family of 4. So that's pretty amazing. Were you honestly surprised that it worked when you first tried it? Did you think someone was going to go like, just kidding?
It does, it seems too good to be true. And I hear that every day, all day long from people, right? And I would say my husband was the bigger skeptic of the two of us, particularly that it involved a credit card, because we had been in debt before. So, we were very cautious we didn't want to get in that situation again. So being able to use credit cards responsibly. But after we took the first trip, and none of us paid anything but points, like, he was sold. And we've never turned back. And like, talking about the expense of flights, I mean, they're more expensive too right now. So I added up in 2022, I saved $14,000 booking flights and points, which I think is the most I've ever saved. That was a jaw-dropping number to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and I'd love to talk a little bit as well about when you're working with people, do they tend to be people that already travel quite a bit, and this is just a way for them to do it more? Or are a lot of these people getting, like you said, traveling outside the US, maybe to the Caribbean, Europe for the first time? And I would also love to hear from you, when you were working with people, is this something that you work with them on for mindset? Because I know that as a coach as well, that a lot of times high performers can back burner any personal travel, things like that with the family. And they almost, especially Americans, can feel guilty about even taking their 2 weeks. Does that start to come up at all when you are working with people and starting to plan things and getting systems set up?
Well, I mean, I can relate to that. As an entrepreneur, I feel like, and I have been one for many, many, many years, I feel like I never stop working, right? So, and I travel, I guess, is my business. So even when I'm traveling, I'm doing something. But a lot of my members are folks who work hard. They have, busy jobs where they're working long hours. I mean, we have a lot of nurses and teachers and entrepreneurs, all kinds of things. And so they are ready for a break, when they have some time off, they want to just completely relax. And so this is a way that they can, of course, do that without having to worry about the cost of doing these things. So, but mindset wise, the issues that I see are not worrying about your trip or, and the hassles that come with travel, and putting yourself in a better mindset to be able to relax and roll with the punches. And because inevitably there's going to be some when you're traveling, and especially when you're flying these days, and just to be able to be present with your family and relax. And then the other one I see a lot is mentioning travel credit cards. A lot of people just have this mindset that credit card equals bad.
Yeah,
somehow
I definitely have that
in our society.
Yeah, I definitely have that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just flat out isn't the case. They're neutral, right? They're just a thing. It's what we do with them that's good or bad. So you can use a credit card and get a ton of benefits without any of the downsides. But sort of a know thyself situation. I mean, if you can't manage it, then don't go that way. But my recommendation for people, because I have struggled with this, is just I like to pay down my balance every day or every couple of days so that I don't end up with like a big balance at the end of the month that now I don't have money in the bank to cover, or I didn't realize how much I put on it. If I just take it out every couple of days, it's no different than me using my debit card, except I'm earning free travel for things I'm buying anyway. And I just am like, why would I not want to do that? Now,
obviously, if someone's working with you, they get all the specifics about, specifically what cards and how to do it and things like that. Is it a lot of different things that you have to juggle in order to with the hotel card and the points and the credit card and like all kinds of different systems and airlines you have to do? Or is it just a couple simple things?
Right. So what's different about my approach than others out there? Maybe you've been on the Points Guy or some other,
I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So he's kind of the big guy in the travel rewards, miles and points space. But I take a very different approach. So as business people, I'm sure you're familiar with the 80-20 rule.
Yes. Pareto principle. Right. We're big fans here.
I am huge on that. And that's what I've done here with travel rewards is I have taken the simplest things you can do that will generate the most bang for your buck. And we leave all the rest by the wayside. So you don't need to be having points in all the different airline systems and all the different hotel systems. And you don't need, I literally talk with people that have 40 cards sometimes. Yeah. So I have dialed this down to be a simple process that's not overwhelming. A lot of people come to me, they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. And so we give you a very simple step-by-step process to follow that once you get it dialed in, it's just on autopilot.
Nice.
And what's different about my approach too is you'll hear a lot of people teach that the way you keep earning miles and points is by opening a new card and getting the bonus.
Yeah.
Because you can meet a minimum spend, get a big chunk of points, right? And that is not what we teach instead, because then that's how you end up with 40 cards because you're always needing another one to get more points. We focus on picking the correct card to put your day-to-day spending and definitely your business spending. Like that's a big area people miss. You can take advantage of small business cards and put your business spending, if you have your own business, on that. And by choosing the right everyday spending card and focusing on one or two at maximum, you can generate a lot more points. And we also teach you how to pay fewer points for every flight. And no one out there really talks about that. They just tell you how to earn points.
Oh, so I didn't even know that was negotiable.
Stretch your points.
Interesting.
So it is. There's a lot of ways that you can avoid paying the published points price that you see. And we teach Southwest Airlines primarily within the U.S. and the Caribbean. And it's because of their frequent flyer reward system is excellent. And you can pay, a quarter or more, less of the price on Southwest than you would on any other airline. Like we regularly fly Southwest I can get it as low as 5,000 points round trip per person. Sometimes it's 7,500. Sometimes it's 10,000.
Wow, that's amazing because it's closer to 25,000 for the card I currently have or the airline I currently use. Yeah.
So think like for a family of four to fly anywhere, they're going to have to collect 100,000 points every single time, which is overwhelming. On Southwest, I can get in 3, 4, 5 trips for one 25,000 point chunk. So, and then we also talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it completely changes kind of my mindset and other people's probably mindset as well about how many trips you could actually take any given year because of the fact that, especially with a lot of the people that we work with, that a lot of their jobs can be done remotely in tech and things like that. Like they can travel and do some work while they're there and sometimes not even be actually taking PTO or vacation days. They can travel with their family, especially if it's more affordable like this. When we work with people specifically on, identifying their own hero story and the future self that they want to create, a lot of times that shift in what we're helping them do as well is to go ahead and plan for your future self, like what ideally would you like to do, and how would your life be on a, daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly basis? And so many times what comes up is, I want to travel more. I want to travel more with my family. I want to have that, like, maybe not completely digital nomad style, because the kids still have to be in school somewhere if they have kids.
Yeah, that's my rub right there.
Yeah, exactly. But that as much as they can, like even extending the spring break, the summer break by a couple of weeks, taking that 2.5 weeks of the Christmas break and extending it to almost a month, leaving a couple days before and a couple days after. Now this becomes more of a, hey, every so often during the year, every couple of months, if you're not paying for your flights, this becomes doable almost immediately. So interesting.
It does. And yeah, because you're constantly accumulating points through your everyday spend or your business spend, you always have points in your account ready to go. You're going to spend them down, but you're always replenishing. So like we just decided to pop down to Disney World in February for 2 days because there was an event we wanted to go to. And it was not a big deal because I had points in my account. Or we can also plan our longer, like we're getting ready to fly to Italy and Switzerland for 2 weeks. That's Southwest doesn't fly to Europe. So we have other ways that we teach you to do Europe simply that doesn't involve a bunch of different partner airlines and buying, points in this one and moving it to that one. All that's confusing and complicated. But we're flying Delta Comfort class, my husband and I, for free, doing that. So it works for any kinds of travel you want to do. I even have people have been coming to me lately talking about, and I had this like family situations where you have a family member who's sick or something like that, and you need to all of a sudden get to where they are. That's super expensive because you're right up on the date. Whereas if you have points ready to go, it's so much easier to use them. And Southwest in particular is very flexible. You can cancel or change your flight with them 10 minutes before takeoff with no penalty.
Oh, wow.
So like if things change and I needed to move things around, it's very easy for me to do that, which is great peace of mind. A lot of people get nervous about booking the flight because they feel like they're locked in. And with Southwest, you have total flexibility to move things around.
Yeah. Have you noticed, now how long have you been doing this with your family? When was that first trip?
2015.
2015. Okay. So enough time, it feels like, has gone by now. Have you noticed any kind of shift as far as your kids' view of travel and how it must be almost a much more normal for them now? And especially since you're traveling outside the US, it sounds like at this point quite a bit. Like you just mentioned Switzerland and Italy, was it?
Yes.
Yes. Are you noticing a shift in them as far as worldview and the way that they look at things? Probably yourself and your husband as well, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in showing your kids the world. Like what a difference that makes to get them out of your own little, cocoon and realize that expose them to other cultures and the way other people do things and that there are different ways to do things. And when we took that first trip to Europe, I mean, that was one of the biggest points for me because I had been once before, but it was on a journalist trip. But we were all scared, we don't know the languages, we don't know how to get on the subway. What are we going to do? And I mean, we were all very nervous about it. And so to go over there and, even model for our kids, you try to speak the language, you learned a few words, and it was super fun. Right now I've been studying Italian for 2 years because I enjoyed it so much, but that they don't need to be afraid of that. Like my husband and I were, because we never did that growing up, that in I have a son now who's in college and he just took his first flight all by himself. And it was super fun to watch him know how to do everything because he's been doing it for so many years, Yeah,
definitely. I know for me, other than a couple of trips domestically, all that didn't happen until late college and then into my 20s. And definitely some of those same thoughts of it's almost like your lizard brain, your fear response is kind of I don't want to look stupid. I'm representing my country. I don't want to come off as an arrogant American or something while I'm in France or Italy or whatever I'm doing. And I found the exact opposite was true. Kind of like you pointed out, you put in some effort, you learn some key phrases, you refer to your book, you make an attempt, you even, learn the phrase that's, hey, I'd like to practice. Is that okay with you? And I found that everywhere that I've gone, it's just been delightful. And it's amazing how quickly your brain starts to just figure out the key phrases and things like that you need, even if it's 1 or 2 words that then people help you find the bathroom or find the restaurant or find your hotel. And it just kind of pushes your brain outside of that comfort zone. And so I'm glad to hear that it is the same for your kids as well. And I know a lot of people want to gift that to their children, that wider, non-ethnocentric, just US-based worldview where they feel comfortable traveling and they can see that there are lots, to your point, they can see that there are lots of different ways to do things. And it's not weird. It's just different.
Right.
And that it builds up not just the word tolerance, or acceptance, but you look forward to seeing different ways that people live and the different ways they do things. It's such a gift that you can give to your family if you do have the ability to travel more, which is why I think that what you're coaching on and what you're doing is so cool.
Yeah. And it can be simple. That I think is the key thing to remember here. It doesn't need to be overwhelming and complicated and confusing. It can be. So don't let that part of it hold you back. And because we just have lots of people who, instead of, collecting more things, right, they want to gift their kids with travel, or even, for a birthday, take them somewhere, or instead of a Christmas gift, they give them, we're all going to go on this big trip somewhere. Yeah. And in my mind, there's no better gift to give your kids than that. And you can, I'm already teaching my college age son how to do this, right? So once you dial this in, it just works. And then they can learn how to do it. You can share it with your family members. Another thing I see a lot of my families who do this is they bring other people along for the ride and gift them with free travel because they now have enough points that they can bring kids' friends or goddaughters or their parents.
Yes. That's absolutely where we would like to get to. We've really enjoyed being able to travel more with the family and have those experiences. I feel like that's the next level for us. The next level for us is when we can always go, especially when they're older, say, which friend do you want to bring this time?
Yes.
Like that. I always, when I was younger, I wanted to be one of those families because we all knew one of those families that probably didn't need points.
Exactly.
It was like in the movie Home Alone. If anyone has seen that meme that's been going around on Instagram and everywhere else, that it says, the older I get, the less I want to know why they left their son at home. The more I want to know what the heck that mom and dad did for a living to be able to fly the entire family and the extended family to Paris.
Right. At, what was it?
In first
Thanksgiving,
class.
isn't it? Or Christmas. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, and for some people, like I said, they don't want to mess with miles and points. They just want to pay for it. But
Sure.
I also have people that, they're taking VIP tours at Disney and whatever, and it really cost isn't an issue, but it's this game of how much can I get for how little, and the wanting to use your money as best you can, right? Because we have a lot of people who are chasing financial independence. This goes well with that because then instead of spending money on travel, they can just put all that money toward their financial independence goal. So it just allows you to do other things with your money. Even like when you're traveling, like if you can get your flights for free, as you said, that's a huge expense that you are knocking off. And then you can take that money and you can splurge on some things on your trip that you might not have done otherwise.
I love that. That's such a great point. I mean, if for nothing else than what you just said, which is you spending more of the money on the experience, which is the whole reason you're doing it. Whether it's a plane or a car or a boat or whatever it is, tunneling underground, that's just the means of getting to the experience. It can be part of the experience and an enjoyable part of it once the kids are a little older, honestly. Managing the Cheerios and the snacks on the plane when they're younger, not my favorite. The throwing up on you and trying to clean it off your shirt in the bathroom. Yeah, I remember those days. But actually being able to spend the money more on and opening up your view of like that VIP experience. Like, let's do this cool tour at Disney World, or let's go ahead and stay at the better hotel because we freed up all this money, not on a 2.5 hour or 5 hour or whatever it is flight that's over. A flight's a flight, right? You're kind of breaking my brain on this right now. I'm very excited about this.
This is how I felt when I first happened into all this. I was like, what now?
I love it. So
but it really does work. It's possible.
We've teased people enough. Like where do they go? Like tell us a little bit more about your program and where we can learn more about it. Like, because I'm definitely going and learning more about it as soon as we're done talking.
Yeah, so it's called Families Fly Free. So it's pretty obvious what we teach you how to do. And it's a membership program. So I have developed what I call my Fly Free formula. That's just 6 steps that you follow to get on our system and to get that points system on autopilot. So you can always have points ready to go to hit those destinations I talked about. And so in there, we give each family a personalized plan. So you'll learn my system, and then you'll fill out a questionnaire about like what cards you have already. If you don't have any, that's fine. How many people are traveling with you? Where do you want to go? Those kinds of things. And then we craft a plan that's specific to you on what you like, what card you need to open, or what you need to do in what order, so you know exactly what to do. And then we offer personalized support too, which is something that's really missing in travel, I think. And so I think we have unparalleled support, and we can help you. You can email us at any time, or I have live Q&As every month.
Oh, wow.
Any question you have about travel, booking, credit cards, where should we go? We get a lot of that, because suddenly when you can fly for free 6 or more times a year, you start being like, where should we go next?
It
becomes an issue.
I want to have the problem of, we're running out of places.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really ever, but you need ideas for, okay, what next? And so, and to that end, we also have tons of content. We have regular live webinars, and all that goes into our online system. So we have videos on all kind of destinations, or how to get organized with your travel rewards, or how to plan for a trip. How to stay for free is something we also tackle. How to save on car rentals, because you have to learn how to save on the expenses that go along with flying too.
With travel.
Otherwise, you can't realistically do it 6 times a year. But
yeah.
So that's just a high level overview of what the membership is. Pretty much online. You can find me at Families Fly Free, and I do have a free download that you can get if you would like, where I share 7 hacks that I personally use to fly my family free. And so you can go to familiesflyfree.com, which is where you can also learn more, but /storied coaching to get that free download.
Yes, I love it. Thank you for making something very cool and unique just for our listeners. I appreciate it. I'm going to download that as well. I want to know those 7 things.
Yeah, and that'll kind of give you a start to what my system is, and how you can start that ball rolling yourself, and see that it really is simple.
Yeah, like you said, once you set it up, then it just
learn it.
Just happens.
Yeah.
I love it. So familiesflyfree.com /storied coaching. We'll put that in the show notes as well, so it's easy for people to find. So people, if you're looking for that, just click on the show notes. We'll have it in there. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for your time today. I feel like I learned so much just by listening to you, and I'm kind of excited now to think about where we're traveling next.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Absolutely. Bye for now.